Hello, how are you? Yeah, this is Mr. Garfield.
How do you do?
He's from the Ministry of Labour. Has come down to address this meeting.
About time we send someone down to sort this part out.
I'm glad you share the government's concern.
Nothing but a gang of yobos. They're like sheep. I'll follow anyone.
Johnny, make this one the last one before lunch, will you? Go ahead. By day, you bleeding man there! You stupid out bastard, you!
Where did he get you from? Why do you bloody watch what you're doing in that academy there?
Dad, can I have a word with him, innit?
What do you want, son?
Listen, I want to have a word with you about our Danny. You know this Garfield fella? Well, he's coming here with names, dates, places. He's got a list as long as your arm. He knows as much about the unofficial strike committee as we do. So you know what's going to happen? He's going to get thrown right off the dock.
I better get going. It's dinner time now, son, lad.
Oh, look, Dad, you know, supposing he brings them out, what'll happen then? The employers won't cave in on decasualisation. They can't afford to.
Transport and young workers, the employers, they'll all cave in if you fight hard enough.
Now, Johnny.
How are you, Joe?
God blimey, this is a nice place for an office, isn't it?
Well, the bog's the only place in this dock you can get a bit of privacy. Yeah. It's handy, too, for getting rid of.
Quick and all if need be.
Those are the points I reckon we should discuss at the meeting.
Yes, I'll go along with that.
Yeah, well, I'm very sorry. I don't know what's keeping the lads, really.
What if you can help it?
Yes, certainly, Peter.
Yes.
Steve, what's keeping these lads, eh? Isn't it time you started this meeting?
Well, you know, we've got to wait a few minutes. We can't start it.
Mr. Garfield, there's a plane to catch.
It's just a man I want to stay.
What do you want, Barney?
What's it, Johnny? Don't be
For the second jam, yeah.
Ah, big menacing neighbour fella. Not that high.
You're the big, well-fed bloke.
A big union fella named Logan. He's come down to talk down here, you know.
Yeah, I told you, didn't I? He shows. You didn't know him, never seen him before.
Never heard.
Well, I didn't know who he was until our Steve told me. But
That's why we don't know, because we've never seen him before. I mean, he's always sitting in his car, isn't he, half the time?
You'll find out when he does come that he'll cause more trouble than that with us fellas, because he certainly doesn't represent you.
Any attempt to change the basic working habits of men and to introduce new ideas and new methods of production is bound to create a certain climate of fear and apprehension. Now, this we can understand and sympathize with. However, what we cannot understand and what the government cannot tolerate is the activities of a certain group of irresponsible people who exploit this situation by fomenting strikes and discord within the industry. Now, the country cannot afford it, and it simply will not do, gentlemen. If it is the function of a government to govern, then there must come a time when one is forced to intervene. Now, let me underline this. Let there be no illusions. If the union is unable to control its members, then we may be forced to introduce some form of legislation, no matter how distasteful this may be. Now, I'm aware of the feeling of brotherhood and the spirit of comradeship that exists among you. And I'd like to say at this moment, Mr. Chairman, with a certain feeling of pride, that at one time my own grandfather was at one time employed on the docks. So therefore, I come to you today, not just as representative of the government, alienated from the problems and the feelings of the docks, but as one who shares, however distant, a certain sympathy and relationship. Therefore, it is as a friend that I appeal to you, and particularly to the Port Workers Committee, to abandon this criminal practice of disruption and try to bring about some form of peace, and with peace, prosperity for the whole industry.
Yes. Would you like to say a few words?
No, carry on. You're all right.
Now, Mr. Garfield has expressed the views of the government in no uncertain terms. And whilst I don't personally endorse everything he says, I do accept that if the recommendation for strike action, which the Port Workers Committee, I believe, are putting before the mass meeting tonight, if that's accepted, then we're in serious trouble.
Speaking as one of these irresponsible people.
And what part do you play? Name.
Danny Fowler, Amalgamated Stevedores and Dockers, also Secretary of the Port Workers Committee. It's all right there now, Spud. Now look, you fellas know as well as I do that half the trouble arising out of the Devlin report could have been squashed before the first salute, if only the union had consulted the men first.
No, that's not true. That's not true at all.
Now, the position is this.
The position is this, Steve. Your leaders came to a mass meeting at Liverpool Stadium, and they tried to sell Devlin to our lads. But they said if we didn't want it, we could kick it down the back jigger.
And a national delegation of port workers. A vote was democratically taken.
Democratic, my ass. 70 main port routes out, including Merseyside. The only way you people skated on was by forcing us on the delegates. And if they didn't accept us, they weren't on.
Yes, plus the fact that nobody knew what was involved anyway.
You can say that again, Johnny. Isn't it a fact that when Devlin come in, Brother Logan should know that there wasn't a rule book in sight. There wasn't one single dock and knew his conditions and the rules he was going to work on.
Yes, look, can I suggest at this point that we try not to get just bogged down on this?
Yeah.
Now, I do take your point, Mr. Fowler, that perhaps to some extent a consultation was lacking.
Which was done, precisely done.
And I'm sure that there's much to be said on both sides. However, I think that here today we must try to find some possible area of agreement rather than collide on issues belonging to the past.
All due respect to you, Mr. Garfield, I'm afraid we have to take the past into consideration. Otherwise, now it's been learned, and we'll all go on making the same mistakes.
Yes, all right, Mr. Fowler, I take the point.
Mr. Garfield, I'll try to put it as simply as I know how. Now, we reject the Devlin report because it contains clauses and provisions that's going to sell the docker hook, line and sinker right down the line, delivering into the hands of the employer. As it's written, it is a gaffer's charter. Now, our objection is that mechanisation of the docks is not going to be passed on to the men who work there, but it's going to be passed on to the employers, and all the dockers are going to get out of it is the sack. Now, take this question in more detail. Unemployment. The government, the bosses and the unions have said there'll be no redundancy, right?
Yes, we stand by that.
Then how is it that the British Transport Dock Board paid an American company, McKinsey and Company, £50,000 to do a survey which, when published, said that with the adoption of the containerisation for the deep sea cargo, 9 out of 10 jobs on the docks would be unnecessary?
Well, why didn't you read a copy of the
No,
report?
this report was handed round to the government, the unions, the bosses, the port authorities, and what have you got? The only ones who didn't see the report was the dockers themselves.
And why didn't you see the report?
Well, I suggest the obvious answer was it only cost 10 guineas, you know.
Exactly.
All right, I'm sorry. Can we leave that just for the moment? Now, let's just put one point to you so we can try, if we can, to get on from here. Now, the natural wastage of manpower, plus the generous terms of compensation made available, now, this should encourage men to leave the industry.
We have heard those words time and time again. I suggest you ask those unemployed miners who backed Britain with blood and sweat, who are now left to rot in the coalfields, how they fared under promises and guarantees.
Yeah, well,
we are not against mechanisation as such.
Well,
in fact, just the opposite. Now, some bright boy comes along with ideas that's going to prevent the men from muling down those hatches, working them filthy cargoes, fish meal, wet hides, sulphur, iron ore. Yeah, I mean, we're not going to turn them away, are we? Welcome them.
I'd agree with you, and thousands of dockers would agree with you too. Because in the state of Sputnik, you know, it's not so long back when they had an official strike in Hull. You remember it, Danny?
That's right.
We remember called upon to work in an old antiquated system, filling bags up at scuttles. Well, as a result of 3 men being nearly buried in it, and an unofficial strike that lasted something like 6 days, eventually, reluctantly, they brought in the pneumatic suckers. Now, since then, we've had about 6 extra berths added onto this particular berth in Hull, and we've had the grain ships coming in 6 and 7 times quicker.
Now, these are hard facts, Mr. Logan. Facts that was laid before Lord Devlin by Blue Union officials when he started his inquiry.
And rank and filers.
The biggest exponents of restrictive practices on the docks are the employers themselves. For example, out of a profit of £3,000 million, they kick back a lousy $200 million in investment. I mean, you've only got to walk around the docks and see the gear we have to work with. Filthy sheds that need pulling down. Yes, quay-size approach roads. They haven't altered since Liverpool was a clearinghouse for the slaves. Now, Lord Devlin wasn't talking through his wig when he said in his report, and I quote, "A 19th century system ill-suited to modern needs." There. Now, let's get back to the bread and butter question, unemployment. This new order, as envisaged by the employers, gives them the right to victimise men if they speak out of turn, and to employ men only when it suits their needs. Under provisions contained in the amended Clause 17, all the bosses have to do is to say they've got too many men. The board can then agree to send these rejects to the unattached pool, and then after a time, they're not employed by anybody, the board can then apply nationally to have these fellas sacked.
That'll be the old men and the militants and the sick.
Now, it's as simple as that, but to make sure that the board, that the employers have got it all sewn up, Clause 10 has also been amended that it makes the employers easier to get the men out of the door. The Devlin report has given the employers always what is wanted. A 60% permanent force and a 40% force which he can draw on any time out of the door.
But surely you're ignoring the advantages of the scheme.
What advantages are you talking about? The right to have shop stewards, for instance. Better welfare conditions like closets with chains or table scrubs so you can eat off them or water basins with plugs in.
But
Oh,
surely
forgive me, Brother Logan, if I'm not grateful. When I get home, they're important. I'll have my missus like I can.
Oh, come on, Danny. You know one of the advantages of the scheme is a reduction in employers, something we've always wanted.
Not the way they're going about it now. What, the big monopolies with the big fellas running around, cracking a whip and the dockers scrambling for crumbs like some seagull? Stop kidding yourself, Steve, will you?
What did we come here for anyway? A lecture or something?
Hey, Bruno, let's face it. Just let's face it. You're just too thick. You just haven't got us up here. You're as thick as pig shit. You are.
Now, listen, gentlemen, look.
Haven't you?
Can we have a little bit of order, please, now? Come on, then.
Can we not...
A bit of order, please.
Can we not get
How about a bit of order?
bogged down now in this personality business, otherwise we're not going to get anywhere. I just want to say to Mr. Fowler that I think it's really just a question of degree, interpretation, and perspective.
More bleeding stuff, so.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that.
You didn't get that? Well, hear this. Now, Danny and Joe and I, we just left the rank and file committee. We're on the mandate to come to you and to put our proposals. And we want to know what you have to offer us. Now, we know that the boys, we're speaking for them. We're speaking for them. We know they don't want to go on strike. There's nothing left by. It's the long time of the year. But by the same token, the boys have taken as much as they can take. And if Devlin, as they know it now, if they threaten to put it into operation, I can promise you this, that the whole of the dock will come to a standstill on Monday morning.
Right. Well, what you're saying, then, is that you refuse to allow this to go through the proper channels of negotiation and arbitration.
Arbitrations? What was that word? Arbitration. That's got more strings attached to it than Mantovani. It's just like having a knack like your Judy and fetching your old model in to try and sort it out. You can't do it.
Look, we're not asking for the moon. All we want, apart from a decent, basic living wage, is the scrapping of Devlin as it now stands, or at least some of the points I've put forward, and security of employment.
You know very well as I do, that the union is on record as against redundancy. Now, we are not prepared to see any one man go down that road.
You say there'll be no redundancy.
I'm telling you, it's on record.
All right, then the simplest thing in the world for you to do is to put it down on paper that if any docker is redundant, you, the union that is, will call a national stoppage.
Oh, now, come off it, Danny boy. Be practical. We must be practical.
Get it down on paper and there'll be no strike.
Well, we can't
No,
do
it's
that. Our hands are
impossible.
tied.
Look, one of the facts here is that there's bound to be a certain shakedown in
Sure,
labour.
come on,
That's why we're here. But the government has made and will continue to make provisions for redeployment. We're quite determined.
Well, how is it then? There are more fellas signed on the dole now than ever before, and even school kids just out of school are walking the street by the 1,000 looking for work.
Yes, but let me say one thing, and let me say this perfectly honestly. I must be perfectly honest with you on this point. That as far as any further increases in wages are concerned, and I anticipate that's what you mean when you start talking about a decent living wage, that even if the employers were prepared to grant these wage increases, the government could not permit it under their present policy on prices and incomes, don't you see?
All I see, Mr. Garfield, is when the employers ask for something to get it. Whereas when we want something, we have to hang on to what we've got like grim death. Now, let me tell you, September the 18th last year, when the Devlin report came into operation, and Mr. G.E. Tung, chairman of the National Association of Port Employers, said that handling charges would go up between 10 and 30%. Now, when the government was asked to look into this, they refused, because if their findings differed from the Devlin report, it would embarrass the government and Barbara Castle, I suppose, who'd have probably agreed to the charges already.
All wage claims are measured in increased productivity. The Prime Minister himself has made it...
Prime Minister, take your hands out of my pocket. Listen, there's been more cargo shifted on them docks with half the labour force than has ever been shifted in the history of Dockland, and you know it.
Here, give that to the Prime Minister. Tell him to unload that filthy wet cargo of hides on the Eureka down at number 9. Come on, Joe. We've got business elsewhere.
You're wasting our time here.
Good riddance for you, no.
You've given us offered us nothing. You've left us no offer.
You're walking there, you're walking around like a bandit cut with the bailiff. Get out, sir.
Now listen here, Ryan. One of these days, someone's gonna get you.
One of these days, no one's going to get me, and if anyone does get me, it won't be you.
Won't
Because
it?
you haven't got the guts to do it.
Because the government is in no mood to tolerate a further outbreak of industrial anarchy, and neither is the public.
Yes, but you've neither given nor offered us anything, and we have no option but to put that to the men.
Well, would the committee be prepared to discuss this again with us?
We will talk any time, anywhere.
And will you postpone the strike?
Well, I'll put it to the lads, but I can't tell you now how it'll go.
Miss Freddie's down there, Oz. Go down and have some sport.
Yeah, let's go and barrack him.
Listen, she's off again, listen.
Just hang on a minute. Now, look, you all know me. Jocker by trade, revolutionist by nature. Look, 20 years in the party before I saw the light.
Freddie.
Look, why don't you act like brothers?
Freddie, I want to ask you a question.
All right, go on, what is it?
Got anything good for the 2:30?
And that's a typical irrelevance. You're last. You're nothing but a gull off the dock road, feeding on the generosity of Joe Ryan.
I never sold out my principles anyway.
I was fighting the ship owners when you were nothing but a hard nut in your old lady's belly, you bum.
Yeah, till they bought you off.
Look,
Go on, Eddie, you know the score. You tell him.
I had ideas in my head, fire in my guts. But when I looked around me, all I could see was envy and backbiting. So I thought there's something wrong somewhere, there's something missing.
So you're flexible rearmament. You haven't even done an honest day's work since.
Labour, led by God, will lead the world. Frank Buckman said it.
Well, hey, Freddie, does that mean that we're going to love the gaffer?
And why not? Why not? That's the plan. That's God's plan. That's God's plan. All you got to do is free yourself from the hate and bitterness that rots your soul. Start the revolution in yourselves, brothers. Start with your wife.
Listen, who's talking? The
biggest
the
trouble, you see, because you fetch your troubles from your home to your work.
It's talking to you and ask because you don't go home and batter your ass for bringing your troubles from the docks to your home. It's vice versa.
Sticky Becky, eh?
When I was a jocker,
Yeah.
I'm 86. Bear in mind, I'm one of the old original jockers.
Oh, yeah.
And I belong to number 4, and we was asked and left about by all the delegates.
Look, if you'll give him a bit of order, he'll explain things for you in a couple of minutes. All right.
Well, all I've come down here is to see whether, in fact, we can get together in some way to talk things out. Why there have been mistakes on all sides in the past.
Leopard's got more bloody friends than you, Freddie, lad.
Oh, and what about you, Andy? It's cost you plenty. How long have you been knocking your head against a brick wall?
All my life. But I've never backpedaled once.
Now, look, you've got 2 sons.
You keep my 2 sons out of it.
Well, how can we?
I'm button and belt up.
Why? I mean, weren't we uppos, working putting the beat down that ship the night your Stevie was born? And your Sarah, God rest her soul, bled to death because of it. And didn't I talk back because they wouldn't let you away, so I was left out of the mustard and I was on the stone for 2 weeks?
Well, what do you want us to do, Freddie? Have work round for you.
Now look at your 2 lads. They're fighting there like 2 dogs over a bone. Now, it's not natural. Well, what sort of a life is that, for Christ's sake?
You used to think the same thing them days, Freddie.
All right, Freddie, what's your be chances to now then?
20 years with the devil, 2 years with the Lord.
Your name is Daniel Fowler.
Yes.
You live at 153 Hague Street. You're involved in the trade dispute. And you're employed by the National Dock Labour Board for the last 9 years.
Yes.
You're claiming on behalf of your wife, Elizabeth, sons Kevin and son Terence. Are there any changes in your circumstances since your last declaration?
No.
No. So, in fact, you received £5.19 last week. There are no changes in your circumstances. Would you sign there for me, please?
I don't know a docker that could knock off for a couple of days willingly and not suffer financially on it. But I know plenty of bosses that can stop off for 12 months.
I think the wife sticks to the husband more. And, you know, times like this, you're inclined to stick to them more, I think. You more or less blame him for everything that's gone wrong, but at the same time, you stick by him, you know.
You've got your own personal position. You've got the question of you've no cash. You've got the question of kids to feed and clothes to find and rent to find and heat and fuel and all the rest of it. But then you're bombarded from all angles. You've got the press, you've got the television dons telling you why you shouldn't go out on strike. You're really exposed, really out on the limb, and the only thing that you can cling to is your own mates. and the objective of what you're fighting for.
It's tearing down.
Oh, I'll go and get the pram then, look.
Okay. What's wrong?
No.
Well, don't be worrying about nothing. We're not worrying. This little fella's not worrying. Don't you worry. Go on.
There's 5 weeks I've been on the stones now. And what do you think I'm going to live on? Fresh air?
OK, well, don't count on me. I'm only doing my job.
I know that. I understand that.
Well, you fellas know the law. When a chap's on strike, the only people he can claim for is his wife and his dependents.
As far as dependents go, as I told you last week, I've been on my own all my life. And as far as that goes, most of the jockeys down the jock now even call me the lonely rabbit.
I'm afraid that's your problem, Mr. Ryan.
So what have I got to do now? Go outside and pick a bit of an old Judy up or a bit of an old sail or something that's going along the road? Ask her to live jolly with me so I can come back and make a claim and get a couple of bob off you people. Well, I'll tell you what, you can stick that.
I don't know. Mr. Murphy, please. Mr. Murphy, are you still claiming for your wife and 5 children?
Yeah.
How old are they?
Oh, look, I told you this last week and the week before.
Now, come on, Mr. Murphy, how old are they?
This Dennis, he's 1.5. Sean, he's 3. Kathy, she's going on 5. And Derek and Peter, they're 6 and 8.
Is your wife working?
Ah, you must be joking.
Well, I don't understand you fellas, honestly. You know, it's beyond me. You got a wife, you got 5 children, and you want to go on strike?
Well, that's the whole reason. It's 5 good reasons why I'm out on strike. Come on, give us me money and let's get out of this house of plenty.
If we can only continue the spirit of solidarity and comradeship that we've had over the last 6.5 weeks.
I think I've been connected with strikes since, well, actively since 1945, and I don't think that I've ever known one that's been conned on the men themselves. I don't think I remember one.
If you are a strike leader, then to get the respect of the men, you've got to be a good worker. You've got to do the hard graft, because you only gain the respect of the men around you by showing that you're good at your job, and then they'll listen to you. The press come out with the lightning strike and the wildcat strike, but you trace the history of every dispute and you'll find that for perhaps weeks or even months before it's reached that flashpoint, the men have done everything they can to settle the thing peacefully. The strike is the last resort, and anybody who says you can fetch workers out of the drop of the hat doesn't know what they're talking about.
When the last strike was on, the bus conductors were letting the fellas bus loads on the buses free, all the way down to the pay ahead because they couldn't afford it.
See it in Sewlands.
See it, but we can't go on anymore. They haven't budged an inch and that's
Look,
it.
Joe, I'll put it straight to you. What's the use of going back? You can't go back now. Tell me, name me one strike where the fellas have gone back. The union said go back and we'll negotiate, and they've gone back and have got what they wanted. Tell me, name one strike like that.
I know, I said the union. Do it through
the union, Joey,
the
are the
branches.
Employers Protective Association.
I know all about it.
If you're not active on the strike committees, if you're not involved in running the strike, then you just attend strike meetings, you drift back to the house, you sit down, you look at the wall, you read a book, you read a paper, you kick your heels, you wonder when it's going to end, you count your coppers, you wonder how long you're going to carry on, and you just drift, you just spin like a top.
You worry over where the next meal's coming from. That's
you
the
do,
main
like.
thing, isn't it? And then you're wondering what you can pawn next. You've pawned what things you'd have got, like your wedding ring and his watch, if he's lucky to have a watch, like, you know. But that's the main worry, is finding something for the kids to eat and making it go a long way, you know.
Every time I go home, she's got 6 rolls of wallpaper there and the brush shovels in my hand to paint the doors and that. You're better off at work than that, like.
They might be fighting for our children, our grandchildren, but who's going to keep my kids now?
And the next generation.
That's the main
coming
point.
up, that's what they're
It's all right,
fighting
this
for.
crowd going on like this. I can't afford to stay out of work. It's
Well,
just
they're all our
ridiculous.
class, you know, brother.
Hey?
But you still got to support them. They're your class,
Yes.
aren't they? That's
Aye,
got
but
in there.
what
and
are
that's
we
what they're doing.
supporting them for?
Just supporting them to do better for our children and our grandchildren.
Mr. Logan, any chance of a comment before the meeting?
We have to wait and see.
Have you anything at all you can offer the men yet?
No comment.
Let's have a word with 2 of you here. Can we have a word with you?
Yeah.
You've been out 6 weeks now. Just how long are you prepared to stick it out?
till the conditions are right.
Now, what conditions do you want?
Well, we want to guarantee that we're going to be in work.
And how long are you prepared to wait for this guarantee?
Well, it all depends what happens here today, doesn't it?
The BBC.
Yeah.
Yeah, anti-working class, you people.
You've been out 6 weeks.
Just done 6 weeks,
When do you
yeah.
want to go back to work?
I want to go back when I get the conditions, the right conditions, a higher rate of pay,
And full
employment.
That's the main
How long are you prepared to wait for a guarantee like this?
Forever for my money.
Have you read the
9,000 men
Devlin
can't be
report?
wrong.
Can you afford to stick it out forever, as you put
It's a
it?
case of having to stick it out, isn't it?
We're going to be out of work in the end, aren't we?
In the long run. We're going to be out of work in the long run.
The employers in your own union say, in fact, you'll be guaranteed employment under the Devlin recommendation.
This Devlin recommendation, will they give it to us in writing? That's the point. We've asked for it in writing. They won't give it to us in writing. That's the point.
Promises, that's all. This is all you get. Talk.
Just how far is it you being led by the nose by the unofficial strike leader?
We're not being led by the nose by anybody. If I want to go back to it, I'll go back to work. If he wants to go back, we go. We're all as one body. We say we're going to stay out of strike till we get what we want.
Thank you. Well, there we are, week 6 of the dock strike, and although the militants are still sticking out for the demands made by the unofficial strike committee, there does seem to be an element amongst these striking dockers which would like to go back to work as soon as possible.
What's the time, Steve?
2:30, laddie.
Too sudden now,
Long day.
I think we could just go in here, couldn't you? Oh, well, you can't. You've reached a stage now where the chairman and the officials are in. We've just got to wait and sit.
We've been out 16 weeks now. Another 2 hours, 3 hours make no difference. As long as we get what we've been wanting, what we've put in for, I reckon we'll get it.
We've got 10,000 lads out and their families for 6 weeks now, relying on us. And what are we going to do if this lot come back with a no again this afternoon? What are we going to do when we get down there and stand on that stand? Week after week we've been saying the same thing.
Yeah, well,
we're united, provided a solid front. We haven't come up with a solution to the problem yet, have we?
No, I don't think so. But look, don't panic, Danny. I mean, after all, we're only the substitute committee. I mean, the first team got seen off by the bosses in the union. I mean, the likes of the lads, Max Shane, Regan, Featherbed and the stately gents, I mean, they've gone. But now it's up to us. It's up to us to come out with something with these lads.
Regan's still around, though, isn't he?
Oh, he's still knocking about, yeah. As a matter of fact, I think it would be a bloody good idea if we went down and had a bit of a chat with him because he could understand the situation at this stage, yeah.
Well, why not, Johnny? As you know, Jack Regan, he was always the brains behind these strikes. And he's always ready to have a go at these port employees.
Well, life caused a stink, though, wouldn't it? Sacked by the bosses, expelled from the union, hounded by the press.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, there would be no stink from the men against Regan. I mean, being thrown out the union's it's not a bad thing, is it? It's a good thing against that loss. As a matter of fact, the same fella, you know what, he never walked out of a battle in his life.
So you think it'd be a good idea to have a chat with him?
Definitely, Johnny. No doubt about it.
Well, this is it, lads.
All
right, Steve.
Well, sorry to keep you waiting, lads. I've got a statement here by the chairman of the port employers. It reads, whilst the port employers are prepared to review with the union the system of incentive payments and take into full consideration all points raised by the strike committee, the Federation believes it will be committing a breach of all established procedure if it were to open negotiations under duress. Under no circumstances can any discussions take place until the men have returned to work.
You can want your backside on that.
Make it up yourself.
If you take my advice, you'll take it. The sooner we get the men back to work, we can get down to talking with them.
Well, it's up to you fellas to decide. As far as I'm concerned, we've got nothing out of this meeting this afternoon. No. Look, we've been over this ground so often, I don't think we need to have any more discussion. I'm just going to take a straight vote.
Look, boys, I just want to make one more point. I think I detect some sort of weakening in the employers. I just want to make the point to you that all your demands are negotiable.
The old story, though, you want us back to work first.
All right, lads. All in favour of continuing this strike until our legitimate demands are met? Raise your hand.
Definitely.
Well, that's it then.
Yes, that's it.
Well, we did our best, lad.
Little flick, Dan. You watching? I haven't seen the cards, seen the box of them. Remember these: Deuce of Hearts, Jack of Diamonds, 9 of Hearts, 7 of Diamonds. First card?
Deuce of Hearts.
Correct. Next one.
Jack of
diamonds. 9 of hearts and 7 of diamonds.
You should be on the stage, Peter.
Cost you a couple of bobs there.
No, shouldn't it? What time did Alec tell us to meet him at?
1 o'clock.
Where's Joe?
Oh, Joe. Well, the last I seen of him, he was starting down to the... Said he was going to prognosticate at the House of Plenty. He said he's been eating nothing but snowballs since the strike was on.
Yeah, listen, get 2 more halves, would you, Pete? It's my left $half.
Right. I think I'll tap him for the beer on the slate. Well, he's not a bad fella.
If you can, get us 10 fags, would you?
Hello, Peter. 10 wood vines. While you're at the money box there, what about lend of half a bar, please, Wal?
Lend of?
Half a bar.
You're joking. We're not taking half a bar since the strike was on.
OK, when it's all over, we just move a resolution, making all the lads come here, and all the booze will be done here then.
And where are they all drinking at the moment?
Well, I mean, where are they drinking? Well, we wouldn't be drinking, only you're obliging us.
There's your cigarettes anyway, and don't forget the diver.
Well, look, give us 2 halves out of that, please.
2 halves.
How much obliged, by the way, Will? Hi, Jack.
Oh, Peter. Wally. Hello, Jack. What, do you want another one?
Make another one, yes.
Hello, Danny.
I'll go, Jack.
How's the kids and Liz, eh?
Oh, fine. Things are a bit tight, but she doesn't complain, you know. She's good.
Good. The, Aylan Crab told me that, he wanted to talk to us.
Yeah, well, we would have come round to where you work, but, you know, we didn't know the score, like, as far as your boss is concerned. And that faces the bad news at the moment.
Now, that's no odds. My pedigree's known. What did you want?
Well, did Alec tell you how the meeting went?
I heard it in the news. You got the knockback.
Aye. Return to work, pending negotiations.
That sort of deal is always tied up in black and white cotton. All strings and ifs and buts.
How's the war, Jack?
Oh, not so bad, Peter. Hey, you're getting a gut in you.
Well, you know the old saying, you don't get bay windows on closets. Costs a couple of bob, that too.
Well, what do you reckon, Jack?
Oh, well, you're not doing so bad so far, huh? Longest I kept them out was 6.5 weeks.
All right, but these fellas are raising bloody sharp here. And with the humidity and now, they could be out with Pancake Tuesday to will to stay out.
Oh, you're kidding yourself, Peter. I mean, debts pile up, wives nag, press hammers away. Men get tired of waiting.
What do you think? Like, we got the cold shoulder down London the first to lose. Think we should try again?
It's not on, Danny. You're wasting your time. You see, in the old days, the London Docker had leaders like Halewood and Constable. Then it was different. Yeah, but now all they got is the Pearly Docker, and he's not fit to lick their boots.
Look, supposing you was on the committee, like, sort of co-opted in, and you had the big shouts, what would you do?
Now, look, Danny, I'm no Johnny-come-lately, right? I've been 32 years on this dock, and I've been involved in 48 strikes.
You want to go?
Yeah, but no matter how hard we tried, we always piled up on the rocks. And now I know why. It was because, like you fellas, when we had the ball at our feet, we didn't know what to do with it.
At the same time, Jack, you gained plenty of wages and good conditions for the men before they caused up at you and sacked you.
Oh, maybe, Peter, maybe. But you're still fighting the battle, aren't you? Look, Peter, we got crabs. A penny here, a penny there. Wash basins, new lavatory seats, huh? Our demands were economic. We were fighting for cash and for democracy and the union. But there wasn't one of us that knew more than what was beyond that dock gate. See, we never tumbled to the fact that a strike's political.
Well, what do you mean?
I mean that your wage packet is made up of politics. So all this economic horse dealing, it's all for nothing. All right, so you make a few shillings more. But then they raise the price of the bread and you're back where you started from.
Oh, it's always been like that. I mean, it's never been any different. Not as far as I can remember, anyway.
But it doesn't have to be from now on. I'm the fellow who woke up late in the day as far as politics is concerned. When them early morning risers were spouting socialism, I was too busy down in the ship fighting for peanuts. But not anymore. Now I want to see the big flame, Danny. I want to see one big solid mass of us that'll point the finger at those raiders and say, you failed in your management of society. So pack your traps, think yourself lucky and go. Things are not just ripe for change. They're rotten ripe. And all we've got to do is to shake the tree
and the rotten fruit will fall to the ground. Markets are divided. Mergers planned, takeovers arranged, profits fixed. They make decisions that affect communities, yet they're responsible to no one. And in this enlightened and prosperous land of ours today, there's 500,000 kids on the breadline. Well, every year, experts predict how many old-age pensioners will freeze to death next winter because they haven't got the price of a bag of coal. And yet, you know, it needn't be like that, Danny. The good life is within the reach of everybody today. Society could be like a groaning board with enough for all and plenty to go around and no need for anyone to hog it. And then there'd be no need for all this lying and scheming and conniving in order to live.
Yeah, Jack, I know about that, but the thing is...
But before we reach this particular bridge, there's a lot of demolition work to be done first.
Yeah, Jack, I agree with everything you've said. Now, maybe life should be like that, but it isn't. Now, let's get back to what it is. There's 10,000 dockers out of work. I know the bosses are setting it up for us. Devlin is just the tip of the iceberg. And what's going to happen is speed-ups, slashing the manning scales, cutting down on gangs, it's going to lead to unemployment. So, in all this chat about capitalism, there's got to be something practical we can do about the situation now.
Well, there's one answer to that, Johnny. You got to shift it from the industrial to the political.
What we've got to find, the fact remains, is how are we going to win this strike?
You're not going to win it, Johnny.
What do you mean you're not going to win it, Jack? Jesus, Webb, what sort of talk are you giving us?
That's more like Rogan, not Regan.
Well, the fact remains that you can't win it unless you change course. And even then, there's no guarantee.
What do you mean, change course?
Well, it's obvious. Either you carry on with this hit-and-run policy, or the dockers take over the ports.
The dockers take over the ports?
Yeah.
Us? You serious?
Well, you asked for my advice. It's about time we started separating the men from the boys, Danny.
I think you've been sucking a bit too much down the plonk shop, Jack.
Look, why not? I mean, docking is a simple business, really. It's only made complicated by all those hands reaching out for a piece of the cake. I mean, the loading, the unloading is done by the dockers and the checkers and the riggers, etc. And alongside the steammen and the tugboat men and the crane workers. The entire operation is carried out by the men who do the graft. So why shouldn't they take over the dock? Let's have a workers' control now. After all, even the paperwork is done by a shipping clerk who's a registered dock worker. Now, what's the problem?
The problem is, Jack, talking about it's one thing, doing it's another.
Yeah, but you know, I've been thinking there, Tony, and I had the misfortune to be drafted into a stevedores battalion during the war. I was 7 years at it. And there was fellas like us performed every operation of port transport. Birded the ships, we discharged, we loaded them. We used the ship's gear, cranes. We even laid the transport on. And a fella, checker, same as us, he used to even write the manifesto, give it to the ship's officer. But we had no bosses there, although we did have a major, but he was a drunken sod. Spent most of his time getting down on the rum ration and the gin. But he wasn't a bloody boss.
Now, at this moment, Danny, you're on wheels. You're in motion. Now, either you go forward or you go back. But there's no mark of time. Otherwise, the fellas will go as cold as beer on you. Of course, it's not easy to take in the idea when you hear it first. It's like wearing a hat going into church, you know. But when you think about it for a while, like I did, I mean, it becomes so obvious, you don't know why you didn't figure it out beforehand. Come on, I better be going. If the thought penetrates, you know where to get in touch with us.
Hang on a minute, Jack, hang on a minute. I mean, Rome wasn't burnt in a day. Put your ass to anchor, let's talk some more about this.
Look, I'm all for this. I say balls to them. Let's have a go. I mean, after all, even if it falls through, Walton Jail, Sendell, he's it now.
So we alter the basis of the strike, and we go for workers' control, right?
That's it. But better than that, we prove that it's possible.
Yeah, hang on a minute, though. If I get the lads back onto the dock and then put this to them, well, the coppers are going to knock us off, aren't they?
Like the Black Malloy at Sioux Street.
Not if you play your cards right. Now, look, the first thing to do is get the committee behind you. Put them in the picture. Then you draw up a resolution for the meeting tomorrow in the Pierhead, advising the men to go back to work, pending negotiations on Devlin.
Yeah, I've got you.
Then comes the crunch. When you get them back on the dock estate, you put it to them straight. Don't pull your punches. Be honest with them. Drop it on their toes. And if they jib, that's it. Forget it. Now, look, hang on, Peter, hang on. Now, I want you to get this straight, Danny. No matter what happens, even if we succeed and we get hold of the dock, there's going to be no revolution or something. That's not going to happen, because the employers are going to throw everything at us. The government, police, troops, everything, including the kitchen sink. But if we can hold out for a few days, that'll be fine. Because the Merseyside docker will have lit a bonfire that'll be seen by the workers around for miles.
Yeah, but after all that, and all we've been through, if the fellas give the knockback, what then, suppose?
They've been through more strikes than Soft Mick. And each time something's rubbed off on them in the line of experience. Remember, they're political animals, Peter.
The resolution from the strike committee, which other speakers are at this moment, placing before similar meetings up and down the docks, reads that the Merseyside docker, whilst rejecting Devlin, also recognises that the root cause of our problem lies in the capitalist system of private ownership and calls for the nationalisation of the dock and the shipping industry under the workers' control and its integration with the inland transport, road haulage, railways and waterways. As an immediate step forward of implementing these demands, this meeting also agrees that from today a system of workers' control shall operate throughout the port. Brothers, 6.5 weeks ago, we came out on strike against Devlin, which we said would lead to unemployment. Well, that's now all behind us. We intend to take the bull by the horns and decasualise the employers. For the first time in your lives, you've been offered a taste of true democracy. You fellas, the pack horses, are going to run these docks. Now, if you accept the strike committee's proposals, what we intend to do is this: to set up a Port Workers' Council with representatives from all sections of labour employed on the docks, plus delegates from the seamen who have come in with us.
In the future, you will elect the lads who will be ship's leaders or Port Council delegates. You will elect them by your majority decision, having regard for the knowledge and their ability to do the job. But by the same rule, once that you've elected these men, because of these particular qualifications, you should carry out their instructions.
We have made agreements with foreign ship owners to discharge their vessels. In return, they have pledged to us that they will deposit such monies as will be due to us into a bank of our naming till such times as we can draw it.
The committee will be responsible for work schedules, pickets, sanitation, discipline, sleeping arrangements and food, and welfare of the men, plus everything else appertaining to the smooth and efficient running of these docks. Our brothers, one thing we must guard against is anarchy and indiscipline.
For this purpose, it's necessary to have pickets, not police, not security, but pickets. And these will be older men, possibly a little unfair for the job, and they will go around saying things are run normally. If there's any abuse of such authority or leadership by these lads in charge, then there's provisions for you to make a complaint to the Dock Port Workers' Council. There's the same provision for a rank and file to make his complaint against the leadership.
Now, one last point before we vote. Some of you may consider that what we're asking is too big a step. Maybe you think that it's more than you can take in. The idea of us actually running the docks. Well, all I say is, let's give it a try. If we fail, okay, let's go back to the stables. But at least let's make the attempt. Let's try and get out of this straitjacket. Let's use these docks as a laboratory for the working class to try out the gear and draw the lessons. Now, everyone in favour of the resolution, please show.
in the place of the Mersey Docks and Harbour Board would be a workers' council. We would have to have a central committee to dovetail in with the other industrial sectors and consumer interests in the port.
It's a far cry from shouting slogans on the pierhead to actually making the thing work. As far as the process of production is concerned, the best men will still be doing the job. The best men, capable and qualified and respected and elected by the men, they're the men who will see that the cargo goes in certain actions, that it comes out, that the ship's in running order, that you get the quick turnaround, that the sheds and so forth and so forth.
People talk about apathy. There's no apathy in the men. You can call a meeting, you can get 10,000 men to an unofficial meeting.
What does it mean docking anyway? A ship comes in, it unloads and it goes out and the cargo goes to its destination. It's a simple process made complicated by duplication. It doesn't need a genius to organise the Liverpool docks. It needs experience, it needs technical know-how, all of which we've got.
Doesn't need no boss. There's 12 lines go up one little creek in South America and pick up 100 ton, 200 ton of cargo. Yeah. When we know that one ship could go there, collect all the stuff, one single shipload of merchandise could be brought back from La Paz.
The interesting that I see in the discussions is that we've stopped just talking about the docks, but we're now talking about industry and the country as a whole. Because we know that the docks can't exist like a bloody oasis in the deserts. At every pit, at every factory, at every building site, at every docks, the work people involved will elect their own delegates, the best men on the job, the most responsible men. They in turn will elect delegates to the Congress or the Parliaments. The Congress, for the first time in history, will be composed of people directly representing the work people in the factories on the job at the point of production. They'll be subject to the right of immediate recall. They'll have to explain every decision they make. This is the basis, the taproots. This is the worker state as we're now talking about it. And this is what we want to see done throughout the country.
Mr. Lowe, Mr. Lowe. All right, one at a time. One at a time. All right, boys, all right. Please, now, that's better, that's better.
Could I just put one question?
Now, look, I happen to know, brother, what newspaper you represent, and I know you're very anxious to print the truth, but if you'll be patient a little bit, you can ask your questions. As you know, the union, although it rejected the recommendations put forward by the strike committee, did hope, nevertheless, that if we could get these lads back on the dock and split into 9 separate controls, we could handle them. Now, that this did not happen is entirely due to an organized conspiracy which was fostered by the strike committee.
What is the attitude? What is the attitude?
All right, boy.
Leaders of some textile unions and manufacturers whose existence has been threatened by the strike. They have sharply criticized the shipping employers, and they say that they are prepared to meet the union and to discuss with them ways and means of moving essential goods and cargo that's been building up since the strike started. Now, how do you feel about this?
Well, of course, I sympathize with the problems facing these small firms in particular. However, I feel that it would be highly dangerous, gentlemen, if any action were taken to protect the sectional interests of a small minority, and which would, in effect, mean accepting the authority of this illegal strike committee. And I would like to add one thing. The Confederation of British Industries and the TUC have issued a joint statement condemning all this.
Can I ask Mr. Fowler a question?
Just a minute, that gentleman over there.
Alfred Pettit.
Yes.
Mr. Fowler, I believe your brother is one of the ringleaders. Would you mind telling me if he's a communist?
Well, Danny Alders has been a Labour man, if that's what you mean.
A member of the Labour Party?
Well, it was till he opted out, yeah.
Reagan is an ex-member of the Communist Party who now describes himself as a Trotskyist. Would you say that your brother shares his ideas?
Well, why don't you go along and ask him, like?
Yes, and don't please bring any more red herrings.
No,
left, right, left, right, left.
All day long, convoys of troops have been arriving and additional police reinforcements drafted in from neighbouring towns as this takeover by 10,000 Merseyside dockers enters its second day. On the street, students and unionists carry banners in support of the dockers, and one wonders whether or not the situation could become more serious. Here with me is Captain Fraser, who has just arrived with his company. Sir, what are you here for?
Well, we're here to assist the police in maintaining law and order.
It is conceivable that you may be called upon to use force against the dockers. As a British officer, how do you feel about this?
Well, I feel that the reason we are here is to see that there isn't any violence, and I'm quite confident it probably won't be necessary to use any force anyway.
Have you had any similar experience of dealing with trouble of this nature?
Oh yes, certainly. I've several incidences similar to this in Aden. Of course, there the chaps were coloured, and here they're not.
How can you make a piece of bacon taste like steak?
It's not for them, is it? Because you know bacon makes them sexy.
Well, do more we. Who is that fella again? Well,
what the wind's blowing? What are you doing up there?
Nothing.
Hey, Freddy. Freddy. Are you sick or something? What's it doing?
I feel like an old bard limping down the river looking for somewhere to land. More soldiers, eh?
Yeah, the place is crawling with us. Where's the heavy mob now?
Do you think there's a place for me down there? I mean, I know better queued up without the bite.
Sure there is, look.
I mean,
I don't think
do you think they'd have us back? I mean, I'll get in. Because I know more places than that dock than they've ever heard of.
Well, come and have a cup of tea.
Oh, well.
Are you sure?
Ta-ra, girl, see you.
No, Freddie. Don't be a bloody fool, Freddie.
When I see Danny, I'll give him your love, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Best Sunday coat. Get in along with you.
Get in.
Right, boys, here he is. Well, Johnny.
Hang on, lad, hang on. Hang on, what's the employer?
The skipper here is preventing us from working the ship. Won't show us the manifest.
My orders are this cargo isn't to be touched.
That's your orders off.
From the owners, who do you think? Now,
Not the employer. Taking the employer's side all the while.
Well, what are you carrying?
Silicon and drums and raw cotton.
Well, look, you want a quick turnaround for the ship, don't you?
You're wasting your time on him, mate. If we'd been left to him, the ship would never have docked here in the first place.
Are you one of the crew?
No, but a donkey man told us that the owners radioed while they were still at sea trying to divert the ship to another port.
What?
The lads heard about it and threatened to stop the engines.
No pay for that.
Oh, yeah?
You can be jailed for mutiny at sea.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, British ships should be loaded and discharged whether the owners like it or not, right? And if the cranes aren't available, then let the crews do the work.
We can't do a tap of work. There's hundreds of bales of raw cotton down there, all marked out in different lots. And we don't know who they're going to or where they're going to without the bloody manifest.
Look,
it'll be chaos.
Look, Skipper, if I told you that the workers in the factories are depending on this raw cotton, would it make any difference? My first responsibility is to the ship owners.
Oh, you're always thinking of the employer. You're always thinking of the owner.
Well, look, I hope you fellas are letting all this sink in.
Now, there's 95 ships tied up on this dock. 32 are British. And without exception, and in each case, we've offered to unload these ships to be given a knockback. Now, it's very strange to me that 32 officers, all taking the same line, all parenting one another, that they've got their orders not to let us unload. Now, who gave them these orders, eh?
That's right.
Not us.
No.
Or the guys depending on the cotton in the factories, no. It's a conspiracy, it seems to me obvious, between the employers and the government.
What knocks me is we're trying to get back at the bosses. So why can't we get our hands on the loot?
Look, I tell you that looting's something we can't afford to tolerate. Not because of any notions about honesty, because we all know that's a word that you can bend according to circumstances. Now, you might think, like in the old days, that you're entitled to pinch anything you can lay your hands on to supplement your wages. But them days is over. When we chase the bandits off this dock and laid a claim to running it ourselves, we've proved that the old ideas are gone. And we didn't go to all this trouble just to let Joey fill his belly there with free booze.
All right, then, well, what are you going to do?
Well, I say we should bounce him off the dock estate myself.
But then they'll come and cop it on us. The minute they set me fuss out the gate, they'd have me. I'd get murdered.
Well, look, Brother Chairman, I know Joey. I've known him for a few years, and he's always been a good lad, so I vote that this time we go easy on him.
Well, wait a minute, lads. Look, the Inquisitor and Bermadzek have been complaining and narking about doing the toilets. There's too many using them. Now, I would suggest that our member here be mandated to go down, and he should be the fella that should do out the toilets, the shooting galleries. Make him the WC mechanic.
We should make him in charge of closets. Yeah. I'll second that.
All agreed?
Yeah.
Right. The next time you get itchy fingers, it'll be straight off the top for you. Yes. Okay, take him.
Come on.
Do us a
Behave yourself
favour.
from now on.
Keep off the draft bass.
Right, the next item on the agenda is Peter's report on the grub stakes and the sleeping accommodation. Right, Peter.
Well, Mr. Chairman, brothers, we've had numbers 1, 3, 4 and 5 in. That's all the sectors with the exception of number 2. And there's no reason to believe that that should be any different. But I'm glad to say that in the areas that we have got the reports from, that we've been able to cope with the sleeping accommodation on the ships with the men working there, and we've also commandeered the canteens, heating laid on. There's been no need for anybody to go into the dock shed.
There's a bit of a problem here. The dock board switched the juice off and the ship's gear won't work.
Oh, that's up your street, Jerry.
Yeah, we have quite a number of these mobile cranes that we can use. They'll be able to do that ship. We've plenty of diesel oil. And I'll contact the lad right away who's in charge of the cranes to get the transport round over the boys. What berth is it, Charlie?
North to Canada.
What about bail?
Fellas that came up with even don't get bail.
Oh, all right.
This fella. Got a smoke on you?
Yeah.
My day, is it? What they got you in here for then?
He's trying to get in the dock.
Oh yeah. Hoisting, were you?
I was trying to join Regan and the lads. They blagged you for it, I mean, I heard that fella mention Regan, like.
Yeah. Tell our sort of mile off, can't you? O'Neill, Tommy O'Neill.
Oh, Freddie Grayson.
Pleased to meet you.
Glad you could come.
Right, now to come to the point, Inspector, I hope you're not thinking of keeping Grayson here, are you? I mean, he's been under a lot of pressure.
No, we're not, Mr. Weldon. As a matter of fact, he shouldn't be here anyway.
Oh, in that case, then I presume I can go and collect him.
Well, that's just what the inspector wanted to see about, Mr. Weldon.
I take it that moral rearmament just as anxious as we are to put a stop to this business.
Naturally, anything I can do to help.
Well, at long last, Mr. Weldon, the government have decided that they want to put a stop to it. Now, we're bringing in reinforcements of police and troops, and tomorrow morning we'll move into the dock and restore order. These are warrants for the arrest of Jack Regan, Daniel Fowler, Peter Connor, and Joe Ryan. Now, these are the men we want, and Bruno has a plan that may help us flush them out. Now, if it works, it'll save us a lot of trouble.
Well, how can I help?
You see, if we let Freddie out of here, if you take him home, so to speak.
Yes.
You've got to go past the docks, haven't you?
You know, did they manage to get clear? I mean, they got flatties lined up like bleeding penguins all around that dock.
Easy. I grabbed me a boat, I sat in it, and I waited till the tide came in and hit that wall.
Oh, yeah. Then all you got to do is just round the coast.
That's right, yeah.
Christ, what didn't I think of that?
I'm sorry I did, as it happens.
I don't know. You might get away with a fine.
Not bothered about that.
It's his appointment Regan's got and he doesn't know about it.
Eh?
All I had to do was give him the wire. I go and get boozed up and banjo a copper, don't I?
I don't follow you. What do you mean, give him a wire?
Well, I landed at Formby, about 15 miles up the coast.
Yeah.
I go straight on the booze, didn't I? Then I hear about these fellas that are meeting at a pub called the Hare and Hounds.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I've been there. The Free House.
That's right, yeah. So I think, well, I better get along there, see what's going on, have a shufty, you know. And there's these fellas there from the unions. They've come from all over the country. Met up, see?
Yeah.
They want to see Regan.
Jack, what the lads are asking is, do you really think we'll make it? Do you think you'll get there anyway?
Me personally?
Yeah.
No.
You don't?
That's not to say that it's impossible or anything like that. I mean, some smart aleck will tell you that real communism is utopianism. That man is born with his hand in somebody else's pocket. That human nature is basically corrupt and all that sort of crap. Well, I don't believe that. To my way of thinking, man's never had a chance to show how good he could be. Because society makes him what he is. I mean, ideas and ethics and all that, they're just reflections of what life is. That's to say that if you want to change man, you've got to change society first.
Yeah, see that.
And that'll need a pretty sharp axe. As a matter of fact, what I believe is utopian is that this madhouse can continue going on the way it is.
You're right there.
You see, Danny, the world as it is bent. And man is he's just furniture in society. And that's what you've got to change first. Otherwise, you might as well shut shop and call it a day.
All the papers are full of it. Sit-down strikes in car factories,
Get out.
miners, railwomen, dockers in Salford and all. Even the Purley dockers having a go. And the League of Frightened Men in Parliament are running round in circles, going potty they are. Sod pound, what did this old Neil fella? All right, that's all right.
There goes the Bible.
The what? The Bible? What
Look,
Bible?
Freddie. What exactly does O'Neill fella say?
Oh, well, only that there were delegates, that there were 6 of them, representing this one big industrial committee.
Right.
Now, according to this O'Neill, they're raring to have a go. It's a fellow I met in a job. They're raring to have a go to extend what we're trying to do here. But the point is, they want to see Jack as someone, so to clear the decks and, you know, get things mapped out kind of style like.
Did you get the name?
Oh, no, well, there wasn't much time for talking, but according to this Tommy O'Neill, these fellas are the real McCoy. I mean, there's no stewards among them.
Where did they
They're
from,
all
these
conveners.
fellas, Where did
Well,
they from?
all over. There's conveners, shop stewards, and they represent about 100,000 workers.
You met them, have you?
Look,
I haven't, I only met them.
listen, this pub, what's the name of it is?
The Hare and Hounds, you know, the Free House.
Hare and
Down the
Hounds.
coast.
That's great, How are we going to get there?
Oh, well, that's all right. Dead easy. All you do is you get a boat and you drift down with the tide.
Well, if the committee agrees, me and Brother Regan will go and meet these fellas.
I don't know, Danny, it smells fishy to me.
You know, I don't exactly warm to the idea myself, Larry, but we've got no option, have we? It's us that's leading the parade.
Well, look, I agree with Danny here. It's feasible that these lads from the other industries will want to see us boys. And I believe that this is an opportunity that we can't afford to miss out on.
What's puzzling me is how Freddie's changed his tune all of a sudden. How come he's sucked out the MRA?
That's exactly what I'm thinking, you know, Jack. He could be wanting into something there.
I bet you one thing, that Freddie's not mixed up in it. I've known him too long. And what about this O'Neill fella, huh?
I made inquiries in his old pen, and he's only a day-old chick. Been down 12 months, he's probably still on probation.
Oh, he's the fellow that was going to throttle that skipper the other day, the one that refused to let us unload that cargo.
Oh, is it that fella?
Thought he was going to throw him over the side.
Yeah, but his credentials appear to be all right. Although he's only been down a short while, he's took part in a couple of strikes.
Oh, yeah.
And he's not afraid to open his mouth.
That proves nothing, Peter. He could still be with the Cossacks.
Definitely.
Still in all, as Danny says. We got no choice, so we better take a vote. Then we can have a meeting with these fellas and get out of here before it comes light. All in favour? Anyone against?
Well, hang on. You're putting your head in a noose here.
Look, the vote's carried. If all goes well, we'll be back before morning.
If you do make it, Jack, get a few pints for us, will you, mate?
Well, you give us the money for it, huh?
I dreamed I saw Joe Hill last night, alive as you and I. Says I, but Joe, you're 10 years dead. Says Joe, I didn't die. Says Joe, I didn't die. And standing there as big as life and smiling in his eyes, says Joe, what they can never kill goes on to organize, goes on to organize. From San Diego up to Maine, in every mine and mill, where workers strike to organize, it's there you'll find Joe Hill.
Well, I reckon that Jack and Danny should be getting off the craft now, eh, Alec?
Yeah, well, you know what Regan's like. Probably reading the Riot Act by now.
Oh,
you know what he's like over the Lincoln Chatter.
Yeah.
I listened to hear that.
Oh, the old guitar.
Yeah, it's one of them Yankee seamen off the cowboy boats. His old man used to be a wobbly, you know, and that's one of the songs he's singing. Bad bunch of men, them wobblies. But a group of American socialists from years ago, they used to bum around the States organising strikes. Take Joe Hill, for instance, that's the fella they're singing about now. He was like the Port Lorette of the Wobblies. He used to write all the music until the police framed him and collared him, you know, and just before they hung him, he got a message out to a mate. He said, "Get me over the state line, because I wouldn't be found dead in Utah." Then, P.S. Don't mourn, organise.
I dreamed I saw Joe Hill last night, alive as you and I. Says I, but Joe, you're 10 years dead. Says Joe, I didn't die. Says Joe, I didn't
This is the police. You are both under arrest. There's no point in resisting. You can't get away. Be sensible and stay where you are.
How come you haven't got your head down, Freddie?
Yeah, I couldn't sleep. Too busy thinking about things like.
How come you never told us about what happened to the Wellington character?
I told him to sling his hook.
Not before time.
I mean, I didn't really believe all that malarkey, you know how I was just using them like. And I told him straight. I didn't mind standing outside the gate shooting a load of crap for wages, but when the chips are down, the lads are having a go on, right? Well, I used to be somebody down here, you know that.
I remember.
Like the stately gentleman sent to me. It was the, never forget it, the Red Oxide strike, 1949.
49, yeah.
He said, a man's youth is always there, looking over his shoulder and asking him the question, have you betrayed us? Have you sold us out? Providing you can look youth right in the eye without ducking the issue, you're in the clear. And tonight, for the first time for ages, I've been able to do that. And boy, it feels good.
Hey, Peter, Danny, the police have stormed the dock gates. There's soldiers and police and everyone.
What is it, Toby?
They're inside the gates, the police and the army. They're all inside the gates.
Go on, boys!
Get down!
Get the boys up from down below. Bring the hooks and the gear with them, right away. Get them up right away. And you too, Freddie, you go up. Tell them to get all the gear.
What's up,
Pete?
Pete?
The crunch is on, the boys are there. Come on, help Alec, quick, right away. Bring all the gear up.
Come on, quick! Come on out! Come on out! Come on out! Come on! Come on out! It's all time! It's all time! What gate is he coming in? What gate is he coming in? Get on!
Hello. What we want to do is get stuck into this crowd. That'll liven them up a bit.
settle down, you chaps. Now, look, if you've got any sense, you'll throw away those sticks, put your hooks away, and walk out of here. I promise you, if there's no trouble, you'll be allowed to return to your homes.
Come on!
Now, don't be stupid. There's enough men here to arrest every one of you.
Let him try!
Now, it's the ringleaders we're after. Jackie Regan, Danny Fowler are both under arrest.
Oh, that you bloody
That'll keep. Leave it.
It's got nothing to do with me.
About your 5 minutes, Mr. Miller. I'll have to see the boys. Now look, lads. We've been through it. We've had the 5 days. There's
gonna be no sellouts.
No, just a minute. Well, listen. I believe, listen. You listen to Miller. Sellouts. I believe now that if Regan was here and Danny, that they would call it a day.
No, don't try your hand in.
Listen, there's no sense in us getting our heads kicked in. Right? All right, Miller. It's a deal. But call your muscle men off first. When we go out under our own steam. Organised. The same way as we come in.
All right, you have my word for it.
I'm not with you. I'll take any of you 6 bastards done right now. I'll show you the renegade. And straight to the die. Never came copper on anyone. Hey, O'Neill. There's the final basket! Get in! Get fucking in! Get him in there! Silence, please. Stand up.
Daniel Patrick Fowler, Joseph Ryan, John Charles Regan and Peter James Connor. You have been found guilty of a conspiracy to effect a public mischief. And it is for me to sentence you as determined by law. Neither I nor the court are concerned with your personal political beliefs. And the doctrine of Marxism is not on trial here. Indeed, I know very well that this philosophy is favorably received in a number of our better universities. And insofar as it helps sharpen the wit and the intellect of students and helps rid them of this sort of distemper that seems to afflict the impressionable young today, well, it has its advantages. But when placed in the hands of determined working men, this theory of social revolution becomes as dangerous as a loaded pistol in the hands of a criminal. It is the use, the practice, rather than the theoretical speculation that we here are concerned with. Now, have any of the prisoners in the dock anything to say before I pass sentence?
I'll go, yes. Well, first of all,
First of all, just a moment, please. This is not a trades union meeting at the Pier Head. If there's any more of this, the court will be cleared.
Well, first of all, I'm glad you brought out about them intellectuals who do nothing but talk and take in their own washing. Fellas that we call folk singing church socialists, who carry swords too heavy for themselves and let off pistols loaded with blanks. These skimmers who hop on a plane to Cuba and preach revolution in Havana and stay silent in their own backyard. We embrace them as allies because they got the education and the talent that we need. But they nearly always betray us with half-truths, which is worse than lies. So I'm thankful that you saw fit to separate us from them. Me, I'm a Marxist, and I'm also a wrecker, and that makes a difference. So you better put that down in your book. Jack Regan, wrecker and revolutionist.
We're all only too well aware of the kind of man you are, Mr. Regan. But I must ask you, please, to confine yourself to the charges and to refrain from trying to use the court as a political platform.
Now, what are these charges? What terrible crimes have we committed? One man was killed in us, a score or more have been injured, arms and legs broken, at least one skull fractured, and half a dozen of the lads are lying there in Sefton General Hospital. And they're only the worst cases. There's lots of others who wouldn't go for medical attention because they were afraid of the police questioning them. Now, all this we suffered. And for why? For 5 days, we ran the docks and shifted more cargo than ever before, in spite of the employers trying to put their spoke in, without any need of gaffers breathing down their necks. The lads pitched in, and they worked hard because they wanted to prove something to themselves and to others. And this they did. And for that reason, things will never be the same again. Now, I've been working on this dock for over 30 years. And I can tell you, I never seen harmony like that before. There was a mood that I find it hard to describe to the court. Fellas I've been working alongside for years. They suddenly sprouted, opening up like, and saying things that were worth listening to. I watched the lads whip off the hatch covers and go down inside the ship and move cargo faster than the checkers could keep pace with. And if there was any problem, well, the lads turned to and solved it for themselves. Not like before when they were ignored. But has nobody bothered to ask why 10,000 dockers should isolate themselves from their families for 5 days, sleeping head to tail? No booze, no women, just hard grafting all the time, and not even sure of getting wages out of it. Making their own rules, their own decisions, keeping their own discipline, electing their own leaders and committees, and finally having to be dragged away by force and violence. And not one single solitary docker walked off them dock gates. And he could have done any time he liked. Now, I reckon that's something worth listening to. That's a picture worth remembering. Well, them are the charges. That's what we've done, and we have no regrets. We plead guilty to the fact that for nearly a week, we worked those docks without any middlemen or any gaffers. I mean, for years, they've been strutting the waterfront like Napoleons and skulking in boardrooms and sending out orders and telling us how necessary they are. Well, we've just gone and made them redundant, and it won't wash anymore. Now, what we done was only the preliminaries. We're neither the first nor the last. But behind us, there's an ocean that not even King Canute himself can hold back.
Officer, arrest those 2 men. Arrest them. Get them out. And if any more of Mr. Regan's friends feel disposed to treat the court like some rowdy dockside public house, I'll have them arrested as well. Advocating the violent downfall of government is something that no democratic society dare tolerate. And I cannot ignore the fact that this sort of thing could create a dangerous precedent which other misguided working men might be tempted to follow. The sentence of the court is that you all 4 go to prison for 3 years. Remove the prisoners from the dock.
Thank you, Brother Chairman.
Mr. Logan. What's the sad business, wasn't it?
Yes, I'm sorry it had to happen this way.
It was on the cards, though, wasn't it?
Yes, still, it's a very sad day for everybody, isn't it?
Dad, Sorry about that. It was very vicious, that, wasn't it, that sentence? There's nothing else we can do about it, you know. Maybe he'll get an appeal, though.
Appeal? Appeal who to? Don't you ever learn anything?
Come on, now, I tried my best, you know, as well as I do.
The night I pumped you, I pumped a bloody sheep in sheep's clothing.
Won't be seeing you, Dad, for a while. Tell me what am I going to do? I'm not going to live without him. Talk to me. Your dad's going to be away for a while, son. You'll have to be back to the house. I'll tell you when we get home. Hey? Excuse me, sure. Come on. Don't be worried, son. He's gone to jail. All right, all right. Don't cry.
You're satisfied? Hey, you're satisfied?
All right. Come on, Bruno. Yes. All right, boy.
Well. Car workers at 4 factories in the Midlands staged a sit-down strike this morning in sympathy with the Liverpool dockers, who were today sentenced to 3 years' imprisonment for their part in the recent disturbances when 8,000 dockers took over the port. As reported in our earlier news bulletin, dock workers in other major ports are also out. Commenting on the situation, the Minister said it was scandalous that a minority of politically motivated people would disrupt the economy.
That Reagan kept hammering home, that we've got to think and we've got to act for ourselves. Tonight at 8 o'clock, we're meeting in St George's Hall to elect a committee. And if that committee's arrested, we elect another committee and another. There won't be jails big enough to house the lads who'll follow in the footsteps of Reagan, Ryan, Danny Fowler and Pete Connor.